I was on holiday, and every holiday I try to pick up a little piece of tea utensil as a little souvenir. This year I got a cute little cup, like a blue one. We were by the ocean, so I thought that's very fitting. So cheers, we're having some black tea today. I also got this little pot. I use it as a fairness cup. I really like this one because it doesn't have a handle. I always think like a handle, if it's not very well done, can ruin the entire aesthetic of something. And this one, you need to be very resistant to heat when you use this one. But I like it. The pour is not perfect, but hey. I was on holiday, always trips, always stuff to do. I brought my Switch OLED and I brought a simple game to play. I brought Outrun. Here we go, and I want to give you a little introduction to Outrun, because Outrun is one of my favorite games of all time, and I think you should play it. I got a little prop here, I got my Outrun for the Master System out, just as a nice little piece of background. This is the Sega Arcade Archives, I don't know what exactly the name is, let's check this one out. It's the Sega Ages Outrun, an enhanced port of the arcade game. And Arcade Outrun, one of my favorite games of all time. In this version there were quite a few enhancements. Let's go into them and then I'll show you a little bit of gameplay. First of all, you have arcade leaderboards, stuff like that, replays. We'll watch a replay because Outrun is a complicated game, and I will just play a replay of me playing a level instead of playing and talking at the same time. However, over here in the options, first of all, we have a game version, old and new. The new one is actually 60 frames per second, enhanced graphics and so on. The old one is like the original arcade game with 30 frames per second. And the graphics, I think, are a little bit grainier. You can adjust difficulty, time limit, and the speedometer from kilometers to miles per hour. You can adjust all the controls on here. Different options for screens, for example here widescreen, arcade with a little cabinet on the outside, vintage with scan lines, full screen, widescreen, so basically 4x3. What I really would like is a 4x3 option without the arcade thing on the outside. So yeah, that's my one. Full screen, widescreen. Oh yeah, it's like full screen just crops it a little bit, I think, or stretches it. And of course I turn all the scan lines off and so on. We have a music test. Of course Outrun is known for having fantastic music, like the magical sound shower or Passin' Breeze, Splash Rave. We have a couple of remixes and unused tracks that were in the original game that are now just implemented into this one. So you have a bit of more music to play back during the game. And some other options as well. You can make it so you don't lose control when you're off-road. You can increase your max speed, just a few little cheat codes that you can implement in this version of the game. But I just want to show you bare bones Outrun. Let's use this one right here. Let's play this replay of me playing the game. So Outrun is a racing game, relatively simple. The controls are simply brake, gas and gear shift, basically, and of course steering left and right. You can see down here, you see the speed, and we're in high gear right now. There's a low gear and a high gear, only two different gears, and you just have to shift them. I'm not a car person, I don't understand gear shifting as much as someone who actually drives a car. And this is very simple for me. Once you hit 170, 180 kilometers per hour, you switch over to high gear and then you get faster and faster. The brake I've never really used in Outrun. You simply go off the gas if you really need to. You have these twists and turns and you try not to crash. I always play with the default time limit and the default difficulty. You have the time limit up here, you see 20 seconds left, and after each part of the map you get seconds added. And basically, if you crash once, you cannot make it to the end anymore. You need basically not perfect run, but you cannot crash. You can go off track for a little bit, maybe spin out, but you can't crash into anything if you want to make it to the end. I used to play Outrun, like how I fell absolutely in love with this game was Outrun the Cannonball emulator. If you're on PC, there's an emulator called Cannonball, which is an emulator for Outrun, the arcade version, like this one. And you have all of these enhancements, some extra runs, maybe not all of them, but a lot of these enhancements. Real widescreen, 60 frames per second, and so on, as an enhanced emulator on the PC. So if you don't have a Switch, you don't have the Sega Ages version right here, get Cannonball on the PC, put the arcade ROM in there, and that's how I absolutely fell in love with this game. It's actually better than on the Switch right here. My problem with the Switch version is that there are no analog triggers. And of course, if you want to like step on the gas, step on the brakes, you know, Parappa the Rapper. Okay. I thought I'd make a little joke there. It didn't really work out, did it? So, for example, like if you want to get like the turbo start, like there's a hidden turbo start. If before the game starts you keep the speed in that green area, it basically jumps up to like 100 kilometers per second, like very quickly. If you don't get that, you start slower, you waste a bit of time. That's easier to get on an analog trigger because you can simply push it all the way where it needs to be and keep it there. On the Switch, the main problem is like no analog, like I need to like push and release the button to keep it in there. It's way harder to get that turbo start. So on the PC or maybe with an analog controller on the Switch, this would be greatly enhanced. So I would actually recommend emulating it. I don't really play on the PC anymore, so this is as good as it gets for me at the moment. Maybe, I don't even know if the Switch supports analog triggers. Does it? Like, does anyone know? Let me know in the comments if I can plug in an analog controller and actually get analog inputs for the triggers. That would be fantastic. In Outrun you can take multiple routes. You see after each section that we have the option to go left or right, and then we go into another part of the USA. This takes place in the USA. Apparently they're not very good representations of the real life locations, but you know, you get what you are given. Is that a saying? Does that exist? I'm not very up on my English today, so I hope you're enjoying this video nonetheless. You saw I already had a crash, so the race is already lost. I did not make it to the end. There are multiple destinations you can go through. We will look at this right here. So here we see, like, I always turned right. This is, I think, one of the fastest paths. And each time I could have gone left and right and ended up at A, B, C, D, or E. The game actually keeps track of each of the endings you have gotten. And on the title screen, you get like an A, B, C, D, E, depending on which of the exits you have taken. So there's a lot of replay value in this one. Let's watch another one. Another replay. Let's see, do we have a different path maybe? Which one do we take? Let's do this one. Let's do this one. Should be a short one, I think. So, what I really like about this version of Outrun, it's produced by M2, you know, the kings of emulation. They just do some of the best emulators you get on any system. They often work together with Sega. You saw it on my title screen. I also bought the version for Fantasy Zone, which is a fantastic conversion. Fantasy Zone is one of my favorite games of all time. And what I really love about Outrun is, first of all, the atmosphere, like It's the typical Sega palm trees, blue sky, clouds, ocean side, all of that. The atmosphere is just fantastic. The music is great. And I really love it. This is, as I said, one of my favorite games. In general, these super scalar Sega games like Space Harriers, one of my absolute favorites. But Outrun, by far. I love this game. This is definitely on my top 10 games of all time. I could play this for hours and hours and keep playing and get better. I would not look at the online rankings for this one, you know, because it has an online functionality. There are online rankings where people just glitch the game and they just go off-road and don't try to compete with the top times if you want to play legitimately. Try to beat your own times. This is a very cheap game. As you know, I don't buy digital games usually. This is a digital-only game for the Nintendo Switch. However, these Sega AM2 ports are very regularly on sale, like €2 or something. And I bought these for these Nintendo Gold coins. You know, with every game you put in, you can redeem a bunch of coins. And that's how I bought them. I don't think I actually spent money, or at least not a lot, for this and Fantasy Zone. But it's definitely worth it. This is the type of game where I say, you know, just get the digital one. I would definitely buy this in a compilation. On the 3DS, where they started doing these fantastic ports of these games, they released them off physically as compilations, sadly not for the Nintendo Switch. Really hoping for that one. However, Sega nowadays, they are not doing physical releases, basically at all. Have you played Outrun before? Are you a fan of these old super scalar Sega arcade games? Have I motivated you to give this game a try? No need to go for the Master System version or the Mega Drive version or something. Get the original arcade version here as a digital emulated enhanced port and just have tons of fun with it. This is a game you can easily put hours of your life in and keep improving and having fun in the process. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.